What's up, everyone? Welcome into Fantasy Football Office Hours presented by Front Yard Fantasy. I'm your host, Simon, joined as always by my grooving and dancing co-host, Josh. How's it going, Josh?
Feeling good today.
You're getting fancy with those dance moves. You got a hat. You still got the hat. It hasn't run away yet. Josh, we're going to go and jump into some of these questions. We got people already waiting in here. Guys, For those of you who haven't joined us before, this is Office Hours. We're here to answer any and all of your fantasy football questions. It is a Tuesday, so if there's some waiver wire questions, we'll answer them. But if you've got other questions as well, let us know, and we are more than happy to answer any of them.
Any questions? Let's go.
So Bam giving us some context says, so far he knows he's starting Gesicki over Knox and Gaskin over Sony. So those are decisions it sounds like he's making. So before we go further, Josh, are you cool with both those decisions?
No.
Which one would you change? The Gesicki over Knox?
I'm completely fine with Gaskin over Sony. It's Gesicki and Knox. I would be playing Knox over Gesicki.
I would be playing Knox over Gesicki as well. But we can keep going here. Wants to know, do I keep Knox at flex or flex either Jacoby, Marvin Jones, Boyd, or Sony if Gaskin is out? So, we can just say play both tight ends or flex one of these other players. And if Gaskin is out with COVID, he'll just start Sony. Which one of these players would you be plugging into the flex, Josh, of the options given? Would it be the second tight end or one of these other players?
It's a really tough one. If I'm going for anyone, it's Sony Michel. If Darrell Henderson's not in there, it's an easy Sony Michel for me. And even with Darrell Henderson in there, it's a consideration. Right now, I'm saying Sony in my flex.
Josh, I'm right there with you. I thought maybe I'd be sitting alone, but I think there's a very real possibility that Sony doesn't just give this work back if Darrell Henderson's back. He's looked good in this Rams offense, not just kind of good. So I'll go Sony. It's probably a little bit riskier, but that's the shot I'm taking right there. Let's see. So Bam said also some news I mentioned in the stream late in the game last night. James Conner suffered a lower leg injury and today was downgraded to questionable. You think the Cards will be conservative? Is Edmonds an option? So if James Conner misses and Edmonds is active, Edmonds is absolutely an option to start. If James Conner's playing, I'm starting James Conner and not Edmonds. I don't care if it says he's questionable, but that's where I land on it. Josh, what do you think?
I think you can almost compare this to the Dalvin Cook situation last week that we dealt with, where it's like, if Dalvin Cook doesn't play and Alexander Madison's playing, you are starting Alexander Madison, and just like that, you're starting Chase Edmonds if James Conner is not able to go. But if James Conner is good to go, then and he's in there, I'm playing James Conner, and I'm very hesitant about putting Chase Edmonds in my lineup regardless.
I'm with you. Craig, who was just on the Fantasy Football Game Show with us, helping out with some tiers. He says, I figure I can go back to bothering y'all in the chat now. I need 2 wide receivers, my wide receiver 3 and 4 for the week. Out of Nick, IW, Akine Westbrook, Crowder, Myers, and Marvin Jones. So, Josh, which 2 of these wide receivers would you be starting? Are there any that jump out to you right away as the one that you want to start?
There's absolutely no one that jumps out to me right away that I want to start. But I will say that the person I'm probably starting first is Marvin Jones. And it sounds kind of gross because we just put Marvin Jones, I believe, in the emergency start category during our tiers on the last show. So it looks like this is an emergency, right? The 2 players I'd be starting are Crowder and Marvin Jones. Myers is a consideration.
It's Marvin. That's exactly what I'm thinking right there. It's Marvin Jones for me, and then the other one, man, this must be a deep league. Because there's guys on the waiver that I might rather start. Hell, I might rather take a shot on like MVS.
It could even be a dynasty league, right?
It could be a dynasty league. Yeah, absolutely. A Josh Reynolds, I think I would prefer over these guys. But given the options, I'll go Myers and Jones on this one.
So we're both going with Jones. We just separate a little bit on Myers and Crowder, where I think it sounds like we're probably pretty close on both of those guys.
Yep. Carlos said pick 2, Jamar, DK, Claypool, or Van Jefferson. This is Jamar and Claypool for me this week. Josh, what about you?
There's one lock, and it's Jamar Chase, right?
Yes, that's the lock.
You could say, like, I think Van Jefferson's part of this Claypool DK conversation, right?
Yeah, you're not wrong, especially with OBJ out.
I'm still starting DK.
You're still starting DK. I get it.
I think Claypool, DK, and Van Jefferson are all in the same tier for me.
Man, that is wild. I'm happy for Van Jefferson that he's next to those names, but I'm sad for DK that he's next to those names. Also, JR, congratulations. Survived both of his guillotine leagues this week which is no small feat this late in the season. Awesome. It's getting tight in guillotine leagues at this point. Needed a big night last night from Sony Cup and Van Jefferson to get by, and he got enough, it sounds like. Please rank these three going into this week. Bills defense, Cardinals defense, and Cowboys defense. Well, those are some really good defenses.
Yeah.
I think I'd have the Cowboys. The Cowboys and Cardinals are neck and neck, with the Bills being third place for me. But I guess if I had to pick, give me the Cowboys going up against the Giants. But the Giants offense is just inept right now, and this Cowboys defense has consistently been turnover creating, and this Giants offense is turnover creating as well. I'll go Cowboys, Cardinals, Bills. So reverse order.
The Cowboys have been generating so many turnovers. They're getting healthy as well. It's the Cowboys for me.
Double Cowboys, but the Cardinals are very close in my eyes.
They are. They might be a better all around defense, but I would be going with the Cowboys in fantasy.
Yep. Also, Truly Epic has a question for us. How's it going? So, Josh, I'll let you take this one first.
So I was sick the previous 2 weeks, so I was feeling a little low energy. I was fine. It wasn't anything too serious, but I feel really good right now. I feel I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking, Truly Epic.
JR wants us to rank these players for this week. Rodgers, Prescott, Mahomes, Brady. So is there a name that stands out to you above the rest in that? Rodgers, Prescott, Mahomes.
Rodgers, Mahomes and Rodgers. Mahomes and Rodgers. Brady.
Yeah.
So there's no way you can't bench Tom Brady.
That's what I was going to say. The matchup I know is technically worse for Brady, but I'll take Brady. Then Rodgers and Mahomes are in a tier. They're flip a coin.
Rodgers is playing Baltimore. That's why he first stood out to me.
Yeah.
Baltimore secondary is a mess right now, a complete mess. It's scary. I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan, and I think Aaron Rodgers is probably going to tear up the Baltimore secondary. But you can't bench Tom Brady, right?
No, you can't bench Tom Brady. And then Prescott's last for me.
Yes, absolutely.
And then absolutely. Fournette, Aaron Jones, Chubb, Mitchell, Gaskin, Penny, Sanders. So let's just pick a couple names that stand out ahead of that. That's a lot to fully rank down, but who's at the top of that? Is Fournette at the top of that
100%. It's absolutely Fournette.
Yeah,
at the top of that list for me.
I'm with you. I think it's Fournette, and then I'm having trouble. Normally, Chubb would be next for me, but with all the question marks around Cleveland's health, for me. If Cleveland has 4 starting offensive linemen out this week, Chubb is not next for me.
He's still next for me.
Now that's a big if, but man, so you would go Chubb even with that whole offensive line out if they are.
I hate to say it, I would. I don't think Kareem Hunt's going to be playing this week either.
Yeah, I'm just tempted with Mitchell going up against Atlanta to put him in that number 2 spot, but I think that's a tier. I think Fournette, Chubb, maybe a tier whenever the rest of the team is healthy. Then Aaron Jones, Mitchell, Gaskin, a tier, and then Penny, Sanders, a tier is how I'm viewing this.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So Gaskin's almost in a tier by himself.
Yeah. Right? In between Aaron Jones and Mitchell and Penny and Sanders.
Yes.
I'm with you right there. Also, Truly Epic, congrats on making the playoffs. That was a close fought win. I love must win Monday night.
Let's go. Great job. Let's go. I'm happy for you, man.
Chris in here saying office hours, baby. Yes, it
Let's go, is. Chris.
And cheers, Jimmy. Glad to have you this week.
Let's go.
Let's see. Scott said, I feel both of these are wrong.
Tell me what's wrong.
I'm not sure which one.
I want to know.
Which one you said, Scott. I'm not sure who he was asking about there.
I saw you come in at the end of our last stream and said, I wish you were doing office hours.
Yeah, I think he was talking about this one. Gesicki over Knox and Gaskin over Sony is, I think, what he was talking about there. Scott would start the other 2, it sounds like. Because Gaskin on COVID. Still. If he's off COVID,
Gaskin
then I'm
has
starting
COVID. Yeah.
He's on the list, I believe. He's on the COVID reserve list.
Yeah. So Sony's a solid start when it comes down to it. So,
yeah. Sterney has a question for us. Russell Gage, Deonta Foreman, or Van Jefferson this week? Josh, who would you be starting here?
I'm like 99% sure we're gonna have the same person. And it's
Van Jefferson. Yep. Yeah, I put Van Jefferson in the great start category. I am quite high on Van Jefferson this week, but if you have an option like Chase Claypool, that's where I'm willing to pivot to. But Van Jefferson's in that tier for me.
They're close.
They are close. Jared said, how about your top 3 in order of these 3? Amari Cooper, Brandon Ayuk, Cole Beasley, Michael Pittman, and Hollywood Brown. So Amari Cooper's the lock out of this for me right now. It gets a little bit interesting with these next one. Pittman seemed like a lock earlier in the season, but he's been struggling with recently. Hollywood Brown has had some struggling games, but Lamar Jackson did go out. And Ayuk has got that boom potential each and every week. I think we can knock Beasley out, right? Cole Beasley's not in this conversation.
Absolutely.
So do you agree with me that Cooper's a lock?
Cooper's a lock.
Who would be your next guy after Amari Cooper?
Hollywood Brown and Ayuk are very close for me. I'm going to go with Hollywood Brown, assuming Lamar Jackson's playing this week.
I think I'm with you there. It's those are the 2 for me as well. Hollywood Brown and Ayuk. I'm not sure what order I put them in, but Pittman unfortunately falls below those guys now.
He does. They're playing New England.
Yeah, it's not a great matchup either.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Josh.
If it was anyone but New England, I might find a way to get Pittman in there, but not against New England.
Come here now, Beach 89 says, do you think Josh Allen will play this week? Josh, do you think Josh Allen will play this week?
I really don't have much concern at all. It could happen. There's a non-zero chance that it happens, right? But I'm very confident I'll play this week.
Yep. Jimmy has a question for us. At an 8-team standing league with 2 flex, would you play 4 running backs? I have Connor, Taylor, Montgomery, and Chubb. I have the bye this week. Yeah. Yeah, if those are your 4 best players, play them.
Yeah.
And
play your 4 best players.
Those are great running backs to be starting, so I've got no issues with that. So JR is asking, now out of these 3, DK Metcalf, Van Jefferson, Elijah Moore, who's your favorite?
Well,
so Moore is out, right?
It's got to be, Elijah Moore is on the IR. So get him out of there.
Is it Van Jeff or DK Metcalf?
They would be in the same tier for me. If it was my fantasy team, I would go with DK Metcalf. The actual good fantasy advice might be Van Jefferson, actually. Yeah, but if it was my team, I would have DK Metcalf in there.
Josh, I'm exactly there with you. I think Van Jefferson's the answer. And maybe Sunday I would finally make that choice, but I think I would go Van Jefferson here. Sterney wants to know, Austin Hooper greater than Tyler Conklin? No, I'll keep starting Conklin. Hooper was alone last week with Njoku and Bryant out. I don't think he's expected to be alone this week. If there is more than one Cleveland tight end active out of those 3, you can't start any of them. So if he's alone, sure. If the other 2 guys miss again, then yeah, you can start Hooper over Conklin, but otherwise, no way. What do you think here, Josh?
I agree with everything you just said. I think you summed it up perfectly.
Chris wants to know, how comfortable are Swift managers for the rest of the season? Can we expect that original production at the end of the year? What do you think, Josh?
How comfortable are Swift managers? Not comfortable because we're waiting and hoping that he comes back as soon as possible. But again, I said this last stream, if they make the decision to put Swift out there and they only have 1 win on the season, they are not playing for anything. They best be confident that he's ready to go and he is not injured. So he is in my fantasy lineup. I think that he's going to be involved if they decide to make the decision to put him out there. So that's how comfortable I am with him. I don't know if that really answered your question. Not comfortable, but I think he'll play at some point, and if he does, he's in my lineup.
Yeah, I'm with you, Josh. Once he's healthy, you got it doesn't matter your comfort level. You're plugging him in. He's a plug and play kind of player.
Such a good pass catcher.
God. Also, Josh, you might be able to provide some insight here. So Bam says, if Huntley plays, should I stream Packers DST over New England? And does Lamar playing change your decision? So 1, are we expecting Lamar to play this weekend?
I expect him to play this weekend. They're saying he's day-to-day with his ankle injury. Does he make me a little bit nervous? Yes. And if he doesn't play, then yeah, if he doesn't play, I think the Packers defense is a great start. And I will play them over New England. If Lamar plays, I'll play New England.
I'm right there with you. I am right there with you. Also, come here now, Beach 89 with the presidential trivia. Whose parent did Ulysses S. Grant's parents live with?
It's another precedent?
Yeah, I don't know this one.
You use S. Grant, so it's a while ago. So that's before.
I'll say Andrew Johnson, one of the only impeached presidents. That's just a guess, though.
I'll go with John Adams.
John Adams. There we go. Bam said, I know you said you can't bench Brady, but I have both Brady and Herbert. Do I start Herbs over Brady because of the matchup? Oh my gosh. You may be up against Kansas City. Maybe you do start Justin Herbert. Josh, what do you think here? So this is one of the few instances where I think maybe you do. Would you start Brady or Herbert?
I'll start Herbert. He's entered the elite conversation of quarterbacks. Some of the throws I saw him make last week, he can make every throw in the field. And he runs a little bit. I'll start Herbert. I know I said you can't bench Brady, but you found it. You found who I would. I
expect you to have Herbert and Brady on the same team right here, but yeah, I think I'm with you. Justin said Van Jefferson, Mooney, Julio. I need one. Van Jefferson for me.
Easy Van Jefferson. By the way, Odell Beckham is on the COVID-19 list at the moment.
Yes. So that's influencing a lot of
boosts him.
Yeah. Justin said,
and even without Odell Beckham, I would go Van Jefferson right there, I think. So
yeah, the other options aren't great. Justin wants to know Titans D versus Pitts or Minnesota defense versus the Bears. What do you think here, Josh?
For some reason, I thought I saw New England's defense in here as well. I am going with the Minnesota Vikings defense.
Yep. 100% agreement right there. The Pittsburgh offense sometimes can get things going. I'll take the Minnesota Vikings up against the Bears. Albert said Waller.
And the Bears got some things going last week.
They did. That was such a weird game though. Like that game
it was fun to watch.
It was fun.
I'll be honest. It was surprising.
Waller didn't practice today, so fire up your Hunter Renfrows. Not that you weren't anyways, but make sure he's in your roster. Bam said flex Zeke or Waddle. I can already see Josh's face.
This is so funny, Bam. I started making that face before I read. I can already see Josh's face. That's hilarious.
That's pretty funny.
But seriously, I'm going with Waddle.
Yeah, I'm going with Waddle as well. Waddle's become very trustworthy. I don't love the matchup against the Jets, but how can you trust Zeke right now? And if you have an option as good as Waddle, I'm going to pivot. Now, there is a line where you don't pivot off of Zeke, but Waddle isn't quite at that line yet. Justin said, I'm starting Javonte and Jones at RB. Is that concerning? I got two of your elite guys at wide receiver, Hill and J. Jeff. No, I think that's a fine roster construction right there with Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones, and Javonte Williams. That's a great team, Justin. You're good to go. Unruly Drips said, hello, guys. I made the playoffs in both of my leagues, but I have a few questions. Well, that's what we're here for. Throw them in there.
Yes. Yes. I love seeing people make the playoffs. I'm sorry.
You're good. Chris wants to know flex option for first week of playoffs. Josh Jacobs or Brandon Cooks? Heard there was some Jacobs hate coming from this way. No, there was no Jacobs hate coming from this way.
I think what we're talking about is the my question, my personal question.
Well, you threw out three very good running backs ahead of him.
Connor Chubb, Cordero Patterson, and Jacobs.
Yep, those are the three. Picking those three guys over Jacobs is not Jacobs hate. I love Josh Jacobs.
Oh, it wasn't Cordero Patterson. It was James Conner.
You said Connor already.
Oh, no, yeah, it was Cordero Patterson.
Yeah.
I have too many fantasy leagues, obviously.
James Conner or Josh Jacobs is a great option going into the fantasy playoffs. Yes. I'm starting him over most running backs. Josh
including
just has
Brandon
three.
Cooks.
Yeah, Josh just has three that I would start over him. But yeah, this is a slam dunk Josh Jacobs call over Brandon Cooks for me.
Mm-hmm.
B King says bench two standard of the super team back in here. B King super team. You got a bench two: Zeke, Barkley, Mixon, Lamb, Diggs, Waddle. So Zeke is definitely on the bench for me out of this bunch.
Yeah.
You agree with that, Josh?
Yeah, and it's Waddle as well.
Waddle would be the other one for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's consideration for Barkley, but I'm going to go Zeke and Waddle as well.
Damn.
Unruly Drip said Dallas Goedert or Kyle Pitts. Hurts is my QB1. So Josh, has Pitts fallen far enough that you're going to start Dallas Goedert over him, or are you starting Kyle Pitts?
The back in my rankings. My gut's telling me Kyle Pitts is going to have a better week, but my head is telling me that Goddard is the correct start. So I guess I'm going to go with Goddard here.
Yeah, I'll go Goddard as well. I mean, we haven't seen a touchdown from Pitts since week 5. You can say all you want to, it's about time one's coming, but they've obviously really struggled to get him the ball in the end zone. And this offense, there's just limited touchdown opportunities for this Atlanta offense. I'll take Dallas Goddard, but that hurts. Yeah. Justin said, if no Henderson, would you start Sony over Javonte or Aaron Jones or Waddle? Yep. I would, but which ones? Would you start Sony over all 3 of those players, Josh, or just over? I start him over Waddle and I start him over Aaron Jones for sure. I think if there's no Henderson, but I'm not sure about Javonte, but I think he's in your starting lineup. Where do you land on this, Josh?
You break it down very well. Javonte is the closest one I'm having questions with, but they're playing Seattle, one of the worst rush defenses against fantasy running backs. If Henderson's not in there, I'll start Sony over all these guys.
All of them, including Javonte Williams?
Including Javonte Williams, as long as Melvin Gordon is good to go and healthy and playing there.
That makes sense. Bam wants to know, flex J-Rob versus Houston or Ayuk versus Atlanta full PPR. Whew.
Great matchups for both of them, right? They're fantastic matchups. We kind of talked about this on Sunday, Simon, but J-Rob should be the easiest smash start in the world. He should be.
He should. Without, like this shouldn't even be a question. We should not be thinking about this. We should say J-Rob, move on, but we can't right now. Josh, is it still J-Rob for you, or is it going to be Ayuk?
It's Ayuk.
Yeah, I legitimately have such little trust in Urban Meyer and this Jacksonville offense. Like, I can't remember the last time a coach has affected my start-sit decision so heavily as Urban Meyer with James Robinson does. It's insane what they're doing down there. So I'll go Ayuk. And Ayuk has the upside, the boom potential as well. Let's see. Justin said Chiefs D versus Pitts or Fins D versus Saints for week 16.
Week 16. So Chiefs D versus Pitts or Fins.
Fins. It's Dolphins for me as well. Yeah. Let's see. Kaysen said, who should I play at flex? Mooney, Judy, Melvin, Kareem Hunt, or Russell Gage? This is an easy Melvin Gordon for me because I don't expect Kareem Hunt to play.
I completely agree. Melvin Gordon for sure.
And then Josh, how about 2 of these 4 for wide receiver? Deontay Johnson, Thielen, Lockett, or Cooper?
I doubt Thielen plays again this week. High ankle sprain. Lockett is a really good start. Cooper's good. I mean, Deontay Johnson's the lock, right, Simon?
Yep. He's a top 5 wide receiver for me this week. Deontay Johnson is.
Deontay Johnson is the absolute lock. So we are deciding between Lockett and Cooper, and I lean Lockett.
And I lean Cooper, but it is very close.
Yes.
It's close. Deontay Johnson.
I'm kind of glad we separated there, honestly, because they are that close.
Also coming in now said not a president, but it was John Brown. If you know who that is, I'll have to do some research.
Yeah, John Brown,
the wide receiver.
Yeah. You're talking about presidents.
Brown. Also, Justin said Higbee, Everett, Hunter, Henry, start 1.
Jimmy Anderson said, I think he lived with Tom Hanks.
Yeah, I think so. You nailed it, Jimmy. So, Josh, would you be going with Higbee, Everett, or Hunter Henry
this week?
Yes.
Higbee. Hunter Henry's kind of close, but again, he needs to get a touchdown to be considered here. Higbee's at least getting target volume. I know there's a lot of Higbee haters here, but you just got 6 targets, 5 catches, 48 yards. It's not awesome, but that's more or less what I expect this upcoming week.
Justin, I would check if Ricky Seals-Jones is on your waiver wire because I'd rather start him over all 3 of these guys. I'm not excited about any of it, but Higbee, if you have to pick one of these 3, look for Ricky Seals-Jones is what I would do. Bam said another league with a Zeke choice, Zeke or Chase Claypool. Claypool's matchup is very, very good. So IDK. They're going up against the Tennessee Titans just for some clarity. Josh, would you go Zeke or Claypool?
I don't know. I'd go with I like Claypool's talent so much, but here I'm probably going Zeke.
Yeah. It's This one's tough. I'd probably go Zeke as well, just because Claypool's the kind of boomer bust kind of player. Like, yeah, it could absolutely pay off. He's not that consistent player in that tier, but this one's close. JR wants to know, rank these players: Gesicki, Knox, Goddard, Ertz. I'll take a crack at this one first. Knox is the clear one for me. Then I think Ertz. Then Goddard and Gesicki are like a tier down there. Like those guys are like back to back in my eyes, but it goes Knox, Ertz, and then Goddard, Gesicki. What about you, Josh?
Ertz is actually going to be the last one for me.
Okay.
But it's going to be Knox. Knox separates. So Knox, obviously number one for me. And then I'm going to go, Goddard and Gesicki are like the same person almost for me. I'll go Gesicki. I'll go Knox, Gesicki, Goddard, Ertz.
Okay, so a little bit of differentiation there. I like Ertz because I feel like he's the most likely out of these guys to end up in the end zone. Like Knox has that stability plus the touchdown upside. Ertz has the touchdown upside. He's just
also give Knox the edge for the end zone.
Myself. Yeah, I get that. But those two players, that's the reason those are my 1 and 2 right there.
I'd definitely put Ertz touchdown upside ahead of Gesicki and Goddard for sure.
Yeah. Tim wants to know DJ Moore versus Buffalo, Sterling Shepard versus Dallas, or Christian Kirk versus Detroit. You still got to go with DJ Moore. I know it's been disappointing, but he's getting the volume that these other two aren't getting, especially in a PPR league. It's DJ Moore.
It's definitely DJ Moore for me as well.
Unruly Drip said, with Connor possibly missing, do I flex Edmonds or roll with T. Higgins or AJ Brown if back? T. Higgins.
T. Higgins, period.
T. Higgins. You don't even need to ask other questions there, I think. That's a great start. Also, Bam said, Keenan off the COVID list. The fantasy gods have heard his prayers. We have to fact check.
I didn't hear that. That's awesome.
But you know what, Bam? I believe you.
You've been pretty good. I don't think you've let us down yet, Bam. There's still some opportunity. Don't worry.
Jay says, Devontae Parker or AJ Green in place of OBJ on the COVID list. How about you just quit instead, Jay?
These guys aren't that bad options. These guys
I'll go
are
AJ
not
Green.
That bad. AJ Green just had a fan. He looked good too last night.
That's what's the tiebreaker for me. I just saw him look good. I haven't seen Parker look good out on the field. I think they're both ancillary pieces. I'll go AJ Green.
This is really close, actually, for me. The problem I have is I think DeAndre Hopkins is getting healthier and healthier and healthier, which is going to take away some targets from AJ Green. But at the same time, this offense is not going to hone in on one person. They're going to throw it to the open guy. Parker, if I would bet on Parker getting more targets. I think AJ Green's going to get more quality targets and is more likely to get a touchdown. So I'll go AJ Green as well.
AJ Green. So we're in agreement on the AJ Green right there. We have a question from Come Here Now Beach 89 says, starting Keenan over Chase Ayuk or Mike Evans. So Josh, would you be starting Keenan Allen over any of those players?
Is this Jamar Chase?
Yes, I'm assuming this is Jamar Chase.
Then you're Ayuk. I'll start Keenan over Ayuk. For sure.
Let's see. Who are the Buccaneers? The Buccaneers are playing the Saints, right?
Let me. I'm not sure. Let's see what we got here.
Yeah, I believe they're playing the Saints this week. And I remember. I wish I could provide proper credit. It might have been Dave Kluge. I'm going to say it, but he posted some stats about Mike Evans. The last 5 times that he's gone up against not just the Saints, but against Marshawn Lattimore, which is who they usually have shadow him. And it's not good, Bob. It's really not good. Mike Evans struggles against the Saints secondary consistently. So I'd be willing to start Keenan over Mike Evans this week specifically as well, but not over Jamar Chase and definitely over Ayuk.
I would start Keenan Allen over Mike Evans myself as well.
Okay, so you're there as well.
But yeah, Ayuk is the man that stands out. Easy. Sorry, Ayuk. Get out of here.
Absolutely. Midnight says, need 2 for flex. J-Rob, Osborne, CEH, Devonta Smith, Ertz, standard league. So this is standard. Josh.
CEH stands out as a guy that has to be in your lineup out of these guys. And then it does get tough after that. It's between Devonta Smith and J-Rob.
I'll go
J-Rob.
I will as well. We found that line, especially in a standard league. I'll go J-Rob and just hope that they give him the goal line work or something. But man, if I can avoid starting J-Rob, I want to. And in a standard league, I honestly don't think Ertz is a bad start. He's got just as good a shot of any of these guys as finding his way in the end zone. So
we're going to figure out this week how bad Urban Meyer wants to get fired. If J-Rob doesn't have double-digit, I'll say touches, not even carries, touches. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing already? But, like, what are you
doing? Bam wants to know, is Renfrow a clear start over DJ Moore rest of season? Yeah. Especially when Waller's out. And then even when Waller comes back, I think you can have a lot more trust in Renfrow than you can in DJ Moore. And is the upside really that much lower? Like we've seen some upside from Hunter Renfrow this year that like, it's not like you're getting more upside with DJ Moore anymore either. Man, it hurts my feelings for DJ Moore, but I'm happy for Hunter Renfrow that he's being viewed this way. But yeah, he's a great start rest of season.
You're right, Simon. You summed it up perfectly. You're putting Renfrow in your lineup over DJ Moore.
What a wild time we're living in. Justin says Mitchell, Javonte, Gibson, Zeke, Najee start 2. So Josh, which 2 of those running backs would you start?
I know Mitchell and Javonte.
Ooh. Mitchell and Javonte over Najee and Gibson.
Oh, no, I didn't see Najee. I stopped looking at Zeke. Najee is a lock. Okay. Najee's the easiest start out of all these guys. Now it actually becomes more difficult for me, but it's Mitchell. I would go Najee and Mitchell.
And I'll go Najee and Gibson. I didn't like what we saw last week from Gibson, but I loved what we saw the 3 weeks prior to that. This was a weird game. I have to imagine they're going to get back to giving him 20 carries a game. So I'll go Najee and Gibson. But Mitchell and Javonte are like right behind him. This is a really good problem to have, Justin. You've got a lot of good
I would go Najee, Mitchell, Javonte, Gibson, Zeke for me. If I were
going Zeke is last for me out of these 5.
Yeah. Oh, that's so crazy. So crazy. Zeke, come on, Zeke, get healthy.
Bam says, if OBJ stays out, would you even consider Van Jefferson over DJ Moore? So would you start Van Jefferson or DJ Moore, Josh?
I would consider it, absolutely. If OBJ is 100% out, he's declared out, yes. Yes, I'll play Van Jefferson over DJ Moore, but they would be neck and neck in my rankings.
Yeah, I don't know on that one. That would be a coin toss for me. They become right in the same tier if OBJ is out, Van Jefferson moving up. I'd probably go Van Jefferson, for the upside. I love some upside. That offense is better. He's got a better chance of finding the end zone, so I'll take Van.
But DJ Moore is probably a little bit safer still.
Absolutely.
The offense, the Panthers offense can't do much without DJ Moore being involved.
So. No, he's heavily targeted. He has been all season. Whether he's been good or bad, he's still getting the targets. Justin wants a Super Bowl prediction.
Last night made it tougher.
Oh man, I know we did these. We've done these a couple times now. Mine has changed a couple times. My dream scenario.
Mine absolutely has changed.
My dream scenario is still aside from the Browns making it. I would love to see an LA Super Bowl in LA, but I don't think we're going to be getting that. Josh, do you have any? Or do you want to start
I have a pretty confident 2 teams that I feel the most comfortable with at this point, and it's the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And that's boring because we already saw this matchup, right?
Yeah, you're not wrong. I'm just going to say something different just because I don't want to will that into existence. I still think the Rams make it out of the NFC, and I wish we could just put another NFC team in the Super Bowl.
Because there's 2 NFC teams that probably belong there, if we're being completely honest.
And then I'll say the Chiefs on this side as well. I really thought
the Rams Chiefs.
I'll say Rams Chiefs. I'm gonna make it to the Super Bowl right there.
And who's winning?
Chiefs.
Oh, but you're going with the AFC team.
I'm just picking right here. That's not a real who Bucks, I think the better team is.
Mine,
I don't think the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. I'm just whenever I'm making these predictions, I'm really driving narrative. Once we get in the game, know what I mean? That would be a cool story. This is the down year for the Chiefs, but they pull it together and they win a Super Bowl. So
I would still pick the Packers over the Rams, but the Rams would be my 3rd team from the NFC, and the 3rd team I feel most confident about in the NFL probably.
I really liked what I saw from them yesterday. They've had the roster, to win a Super Bowl. That has existed all year, but we've seen some really rough games.
And they were down a lot of their stars, and they were able to still pull it out.
And they were able to still pull it out. Yeah, absolutely. Also, Justin said he needed 3 of those players. So He said 1. He needs 3. So I would go Najee, Gibson, and then Mitchell. For me, you would go Najee, Mitchell, Javonte, right?
It's Gibson and Javonte. We're flipping between. You lean Gibson, I lean Javonte.
Yep. And I love Javonte. I just think Gibson's like Javonte's a great start as well.
If the football team were to you told me Gibson's getting 15 carries, then I'm probably going with Gibson here, actually.
And Bam said sleeping on my Packers.
Packers, I said number 2 in NFC.
There you go. Yeah, Josh wasn't sleeping on them. And Jimmy does not like the Chiefs. Well, Jimmy, I'm not a huge Chiefs fan either. Just some things are inevitable, like Chiefs to the Super Bowl, out of the AFC. I feel like that's what we're going to see.
I don't blame you.
Let's see. So Bam said Devontae Smith or Mooney, 2 good matchups. Yeah. So where are you going here, Josh?
If I had to choose here, and I don't love this decision, I would be going Mooney. I know he just had a pretty pathetic game in a high scoring game. He only had 1 catch, 5 targets, but at the same time, Devonta Smith's been pretty disappointing himself. I lean Mooney.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I lean Mooney, but I'm also leaning maybe find someone on the waiver wire if someone's out there. I think those guys are maybe far enough down.
I don't know if you're going to find someone that much better.
I was just looking at the players around them. No, you're going to be looking at the MVSs and the Sterling Shepards and the DPJs.
Wouldn't be starting those guys.
Yeah, you got to pick one of those 2 guys. You're right, Josh. Yeah. Midnight wants to know biggest bust in this fantasy season. So take Allen
Robinson.
I was going to say Allen Robinson's the first name that jumps into my mind. You read my mind, Josh.
Allen Robinson.
Let's see.
Hold on. I'm going to bring up some ADP data real fast so I can scroll through that just to look at.
That is a good idea.
Just to look at, but I'm obviously my iPad's going to really slow down here when I'm trying to look that up.
Yeah, let's see. At the wide receiver position, I'm trying to think players that it's not due to injury or anything else, right? Just players that were drafted high.
Absolutely.
Julio Jones was drafted at the wide receiver 20. That doesn't quite feel on par with Allen Robinson's drop, but that is a bust.
What about Ezekiel Elliott? A top 5 pick in a lot of leagues, and look at what he's doing now. I know he's produced for you enough to be okay with it, but if we're talking about someone without an injury been playing and you had spent a ton of draft capital on him, I think Elliott's got to be mentioned at the very least, right?
Yeah. And then
Kyle Pitts.
That's what I was going to say. We can go over to the tight end, and Kyle Pitts stands out. Waller maybe, but he's had some injury as well. But even when he's played, he's been disappointing. Waller and Pitts stand out as busts as well. Justin also wants to know, Just, do you have a favorite for who you think is going to win Offensive Player of the Year?
Offensive Player of the Year, Jonathan Taylor.
I'm curious what the odds
Cooper
are
Kupp.
right now.
It's Cooper Kupp or Jonathan Taylor. It's got to be one of those 2. It's usually not a quarterback that wins Offensive Player of the Year because they're usually the ones that win MVP.
Yep. And Josh, they are by far the betting odds favorites right now. Cooper Kupp and Jonathan Taylor. Cooper Kupp. They're 125 and then 150 for Jonathan Taylor.
Okay. So it comes down to who finishes the season stronger at this point, right?
And then Devontae Adams at 3,500. So it's a big
not going
jump
to be
off
Devontae
there.
Adams.
No, it is
maybe
not.
Justin Jefferson. I bet he's the next one or close there.
Let's see. Nope. Deebo Samuel is next.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
And then Tom Brady actually.
Oh, wow.
Maybe assuming he doesn't win MVP, he could get over Offensive Player of the Year. Then James Conner, then Austin Eckler, then Herbert, and then Kyler Murray. We get a couple quarterbacks down here. Wow, I am surprised. Justin Jefferson is way down the list behind a bunch of these quarterbacks. Now, do you have any idea for Defensive Player of the Year? We are not huge defensive fantasy guys, but we still
I know
watch football.
TJ Watt's killing it. 2 Cowboys actually, Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs both have to be in consideration for this award at this point. But I know Watt. Do you have the odds there by any chance, Simon?
I'm pulling them up. Let's see.
Gotcha. I feel like Watt's probably in the lead at this point, if I had to guess.
Myles Garrett has just tied TJ Watt.
Okay.
As the betting odds favorite. So they are both at plus 300. Myles Garrett and TJ
just had
Watt.
A big game. That makes sense.
And then Josh, the 2 other ones you mentioned, Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs, are the next 2. Micah Parsons at plus 400 and Trayvon Diggs at plus 1,000. So I think those are your front runners.
I'll go with Watt.
I'll go with Watt as well. Unless Myles Garrett really just like piles it on over these last couple games, I feel like it's going to go to Watt here.
It sounds like Davis, Micah Parsons is going to be winning Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. Justin said Mike Davis is a bust. Absolutely. Kelce, I wouldn't call him a bust. He's not a bust. He's
still the
he's
tight
had a couple
number
bad
2
weeks
in fantasy. Yeah, but he's you could call him a bust, but he's not in the conversation with biggest busts.
Yeah,
I think you can call him a bust. Him being drafted in the first round, I think you can.
I think he still returned value on his first round draft, even if he finishes the tight end too. I think he's still like Mark Andrews over returned value. The teams where I have Kelce, I'm still pretty happy with him. He helped me win more weeks than he helped me lose this season.
I'm not calling him a bust, but I think you can. I'm gonna stay with that stance.
We'll fight later. Justin said fine. DK bust as well. Absolutely.
He's one of the biggest busts. One of the throw his name with all those other guys we were talking about, actually.
Jeezy said Aaron Jones, Monty, Javonte, bench 1.
Aaron Jones for me.
Yeah, it's Aaron Jones for me as well. Also, Midnight wants to know if you could redraft after seeing how the season went, what would you change in your draft?
I wouldn't take Christian McCaffrey first overall in 2 of my leagues, but I'm in the playoffs in both those leagues.
You nailed it. I would, on leagues where I didn't get Kelce, I would wait on tight end. I drafted a lot of tight end early, a lot of Darren Waller, a decent amount of Kyle Pitts. I would have punted tight end if I missed out on Kelce, who I viewed as a lock. So,
I know exactly what I would do. Going into the season, I was pretty low on Leonard Fournette, and I just did a short, and I'm saying Leonard Fournette is my fantasy MVP for this season. He's my fantasy MVP. Just where you drafted him, the value he is producing at this point, I expect him to be a league winner for the fantasy playoffs. Leonard Fournette, I would scoop up Leonard Fournette.
Draft him everywhere. Yep. And I would have known that Cordero Patterson was somehow going to be the starting running back for the Falcons, but that's not something.
Take him in the last pick of every one of my drafts.
I was trying to give things that maybe like I could have foreseen. You know what I mean? Like realistically,
Leonard
that's
Fournette,
not one I ever.
I think Leonard Fournette's realistic.
There were people that were drafting
after the
Leonard
playoffs
Fournette everywhere. Yep.
Yeah, sure. I wasn't doing it, so that's definitely 100% the biggest thing I would change, no doubt.
Yep. Okay, guys, that is going to be it for office hours this Tuesday. We will be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern time for the fantasy football game show. So make sure you come over there and hang out with us then. Play some games, ask some questions. It's always a fun time. Before we leave, a reminder, if you have not done so already, hit that like button on this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Front Yard Fantasy. It is the easiest way to show your support for what we're doing or your sympathy. Jimmy says, cheers, boys. Cheers to you, Jimmy. And we are out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching and bringing in your questions. We'll see you later.
Trading makes fantasy fun.